Well, that's a fine kettle of fish, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And that, I guess, gets back to, us trying to do our homework and having the authority to see the pictures, though what we are allowed to show everyone else, what is chosen to become public domain, isn't necessarily our question.
So did you see them?
Yes.
There's do we have to kill you now?
Let's hope not.
Well, I mean, explain it to me. What did you see there that I can't see?
Actually, it was pretty much just what was described.
It must be something that would be dangerous for me as an American citizen or a voter to see.
I cannot, tell you again why.
Your publishers. I mean, if anybody's concerned about evidence in a criminal case or something, they've done the worst possible thing. They showed it to a damn magazine publisher.
Right, and that was done for the purposes of our background research, so we could.
What about my background research? What about my background research? Do you see the source of my frustration here? I didn't know we had different classes of citizens. You can't tell me it's because there's a criminal case because they've showed it to a damn magazine publisher.
I'm actually not telling you anything about the information is released or not. I can't answer that question.
I know you can't.
Right?
All right, let me go to the phones. Mike in Phoenix is first this morning on the show. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. Robert Baer, a senior CIA man from the Middle East, in the preface to his book, See No Evil, page Roman numeral 19, says that a reporter friend of his was talking to a very senior CIA person who said, in years to come, what happened on 9/11 will be seen as a success and not a failure of intelligence.
Hearsay.
Yeah, well, but coming from, someone with many years of CIA experience.
Do you have a question, though, for Gavin from Popular Mechanics?
I do, but, Building 7, I think, is the real Achilles heel of all this. Larry Silverstein, the man who presciently took out an enormous insurance policy a couple months before 9/11 on the building that on the complex that he had just leased for 99 years, said that on PBS that there had been so much death and destruction that day, a decision was made, and they decided, meaning the New York Fire Department, they decided to pull the Building 7. How did they pull Building 7?
Actually, that's a great question, and the answer is that they didn't. That quote has been kicked around by conspiracy theorists over and over, and having spoken to Silverstein, having spoken to any number of large controlled demolition firms, including those that are accused of carrying out, this crime, that people think these buildings were detonated as opposed to collapsing the way that they did, the term pull it is not a demolition term. People have watched. I'm sorry?
Since when is it not a demolition term? That's the only term, that's the only context I've heard it used in.
We have never heard it used that way, and neither actually have, the people who do this professionally that we spoke to. We have heard it, in fact, used in firefighting. We have heard it used as a term for people pulling firefighters out of a building, which actually directly.
Yeah, but they say if you want to pull the crew out of the building, you say pull them. You don't say pull it. If you want to pull human beings, you say pull them. Pull them out.
The only context we can find in which the term pull would be used in a demolition sense is if you actually attached huge machines or cranes to the side of a building and actually dragged it down, just exactly like you were toppling a tree.
Yeah, but when you pull human beings, when you represent, Silverstein says, no, I wanted the crews to come out. When you pull human beings, you say pull them. Pull them. I mean, it's normal every day, and you don't say pull it. You say
unless
pull
he was talking about a brigade.
Yeah, that's right. That's how people talk. Hang on. Short break. KFNX News Talk Radio 1100. And this final check, if you're the 9/11 myth debunking business and have a new book out called Debunking 9/11 Myths, back to the phones. Pete in Phoenix this morning. Pete?
Good morning, Charles. I just took a quick look in the dictionary, since the dictionary usually is the place where you go for definitions. This is Webster's New World College Dictionary. And under the definition for the word pull, they have a lot of different variants on how pull is used in English. And under the definition under the variation pull down, because pull is short for pull down.
Okay, but let's move on from that, because we spent a lot of time on that. We're going to run.
Well, it's clear. It says pull down.
I understand, but we're going to run out of time. Got anything else?
What about the 7 hijackers, 7 to 9 hijackers that were reported in the British press, who came forward and said, "We're alive. What are we doing on the FBI's list of so-called hijackers? We're alive and well." How did they explain that one?
Actually, my explanation for that is that I have read that one BBC report that claims
it's more than one BBC report.
But actually, it's not. That's the one thing that we've found, and that was absolutely one of those things that we looked into. I promise you. I mean, that would be.
Are you saying that that's false?
I am saying that is false.
Okay, how did you verify that?
Have you seen any other reports beyond?
Let me ask you my question again. How did you verify it's false? Because you don't want to believe it's true? Is that how you decided it's false?
Okay, Pete, you asked him a question. Now let's find out what his answer is. Real simple question. How did you verify that the British story was false?
The remains of the hijackers, who have been widely understood to have been on those planes, have been...
What remains?
There was DNA evidence collected all over the place.
The building was incinerated. The concrete was turned into powder. There were molten pools of steel in the bottom of the building that were still hot weeks after, and they were able to do autopsies on bodies.
Have you ever seen photos
are you insane?
Have you seen photos of these hijackers that you're talking about?
Where are the autopsy reports you're referring to? On the hijackers. Where are those reports? I haven't heard anything about autopsies.
Particularly out of the Pentagon, actually.
Well, I want to know where, even if we presume that you're correct that they recovered the DNA of the 19 hijackers from the rubble, where did they get their original DNA against which to match it?
My point...
No, don't go to your point. Go to my point. Where did they get the original DNA of a bunch of Middle Eastern Islamic madmen? Where did they get the DNA? Had they submitted the DNA before they... where the hell did they get it? You're not even talking sensibly with me.
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that.
Of course you don't.
I'll get back to you with it.
Is that a promise?
I will do my best.
People all across the state of Arizona now are hearing Davin Coburn say on the show that he's going to find out how they got that DNA check against those Islamic terrorists who had shaved their bodies naked to hijack those planes that day. Good. I'd like to hear it. Now do you understand why people... scratch their head when these kinds of representations are made?
No, actually I don't. May I ask the caller a question?
No.
Okay.
All right. You don't understand why when you tell us that they found the hijackers' DNA remains amongst the molten steel, and I ask you where did they get the original DNA from the hijackers to match it against? Do you think that's bizarre to ask a question like that? Do you think it's conspiratorial just to want to know?
I think the way that you're framing it is not...
How will you frame it differently, but get to the same issue for me? How would you frame it?
I think I would take a different take on the entire question.
Well, okay, there's DNA evidence. You told me they have DNA evidence that matches the hijackers.
I want to think that the entire question, however, is baseless. I think that it is not even a question that is worth answering.
Well, you're the one that told me they had the DNA evidence.
You're the one who wouldn't let me approach the question from the way that I would answer it.
Well, go ahead and approach it.
And that is that if that report, if these men are still alive,
right,
why have we not seen any news reports? Why have we not seen any...
But you're the one... Okay, can I answer that for you?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know the answer. That's my answer. Now let me ask you a question in the same spirit. You told me that they've checked their DNA. Where did they get the original DNA to check it against? You're the one with the answers. I'm not. I just have questions.
And I'm telling you that actually a 7-year-old can ask why over and over and over, and there's
no. This is the worst attack on America in the history of this country. We've invaded 2 countries, maybe a third because of it. We're going to spend trillions of dollars. It's not a 7-year-old asking why. I want to know where they got the evidence that they matched it against. What's so hard about that?
The way that you're framing it is intentionally.
Of course it is, because it's 5 years later and we haven't heard the answer. And you haven't given it to us in popular mechanics. I swear to God, that's it. You see, it's the way I'm framing it makes it an illegitimate question. Well, tell me how to reframe it. Tell me how to ask it differently.
I would start entirely over with the question that gentleman asked. And I would say...
I want the question I asked. All right, that's it. Hey, Davin, thanks. Everybody expects you'll get back to me. Look forward to it on the Charles Goyette Show.